You do not want to believe.
Solitude can be your greatest gift. The more isolated you are early in life, the greater your ability to connect with a large number of people later on.
The world is going crazy. Perpetual turmoil has been the theme of the year, and now, as you know, there's that thing menacingly lurking in what seems every corner of the earth, and by isolating ourselves, we try to do our part. I'm talking, of course, about that wretched Simp virus, as elder gods cast their curse upon this miserable land. Historians have determined that the theory of the first Simp being an alien, aka an invader, Simp, can be determined as fact. We do know that the plague has expanded its reach in a war between soy boys, white knights, incels, and every other name you can conjure from your Necronomicon of preference, with Simp as a term being in the spotlight in the last couple of weeks, and people rejoicing, throwing it left and right, front and back again, a term distilled and torn apart into meaninglessness just as any other. But I'm not here to talk about whether or how far should women be worshipped as deities or not, nor anyone made of disgusting flesh and bones trapped in this inferior three-dimensional prison, since just as terms, under definitions and applications, idols turn to dust just as visions and ideals get lost to time in the corporate clockwork between crowds, screens, and posts on social media. But it doesn't matter as long as your favorite idol gets to the Budokan or its equivalent, whatever you may be. Wait, how does this relate with this shit? I hear you asking and coughing from behind your monitor, so let me interrupt myself just as you did, you rude bastard. To get to the point I was about to, Chica Budokan Tekuretara Shinu couldn't have come in a better time if we ignore the whole thing, you know, since it's just appropriate that the ultimate Simp anime airs when the Simp Wars occur. Now, I bet you've heard of this. So basically, it's about obsessive fans worshipping their idols as gods, devoting all their welfare to shake their hands for a couple of seconds, going through life exhaling dramatically while thinking that a girl you know nothing but the plastic front they put on for the cameras and crowds may have a boyfriend. Oh no, how dare she? And the crass consumers tagged as WOTAS, just being dense without pretense. Are you expecting a lesson to be learned? Is the concept of an anime with a message shamelessly being
don't ask questions, just consume products.
So mental that you think it has to be some character development, right? Well, you must be new here. Or maybe you think perhaps those puppets will cut their strings at some point from a behavior that should never take place under any circumstance. Well, not here, no sir. Who do you think you are? How dare you? Not spending money on handshaking events. And if that description is anything to go by, it pretty much sounds like it falls under the Simp jurisdiction, doesn't it? Now, imagine the staff meeting after such a spineless pitch. Of course, they are all up for it, but how can we make it less moronic so it's easier to be consumed? Asks the guy in the suit. How do you mitigate such simpness? Well, easy. You see, you make your main character, the ultimate Simp, a girl, but not just any girl, an attractive one at that. That, and also, it will be creepy if some prick did everything that Eripia does. That's her name, by the way. And applause cracked in that room like thunder, and now they scream and force the hand of their niche to spend every dime, shekel, yen, yuan, triton hex in their next plastic project.
Wait, so is this the worst anime
No, not by far.
of the season?
I doubt it, dear voice in my head. I mean, it even made me laugh. Cheers for isolation, by the way. Everything looks crisp in this one. The art's beautiful. Extra points for having rotoscoped animation for those classic idol dance scenes instead of that classic soulless robotic CGI animation that can't hold a candle to rabbit's breast and diamonds and lizards.
それからどうしたの?
Begins when Eripio is approached by Mina back when she was a hentai protagonist. And from then, it was love consumerism at first sight. It also usually begins with its opening, so let's talk about it. We see Eripio hallucinating in the field thanks to her obsession and delirium. This way, we meet the cast of Shamu Jam, the idol group. They all have their quirks. One is the M.O.W.O character, one is the mature one is the shy one. etc., etc. Then we see our cast of simps and their favorite idols.
This guy is Kumasa.
And he sims for real, and he's your stereotypical water. He should be the protagonist, but that will be too on the nose.
And we don't want that.
This guy is Motoi, and he sims for Sarani while dragging Horimoto, Reina.
Right, he can be a bad guy, right? Not when he goes out with his motto.
Well, here's the classic simp that wants her idol to remain alone for the rest of her life unless she ends up with him, while Sarane is the idol that says things to her fans like
私のこと好きでいてくれる人が好きなんだ
while they buy piles of her merch. These two background characters simp for these two background characters who seem to be in a secret forbidden relationship. Release the doujins. Then we see the Wota gang. And we cut to Aripio writing a letter with things like, today, Mina was extremely cute as well. Then something about our stage, and something about seeing her, and how she lives for this moment. Something out of frame. Mina-chan was sparkling. What is she, a vampire now? And a bunch of other shit written on runes. Then, we jump to an inspirational montage of those famous handshaking events that are all the rage around the world right now. And then, some other sins. So yeah, an anime about the unhealthy, manipulative, and exploitative nature of the idol industry on both sides of the handshaking table, bathed in a positive light in order to sell more shit. So, after watching every episode, every week, I must say, I'm so disappointed in myself, although it still manages to provide something that not other anime has done. You see, when looking through the scriptures on the House of the Urban Dictionary, everything points to a man worshipping a woman, but here we have a girl simping harder than anyone has, going so far as crippling herself in her simpness. Now,
The conspiracy grows.
can that be real? Well, simp initiated as an acronym according to the ancient texts, and soccer is gender neutral, but we have Omanko. The plot thickens. Are the simp pastures and even fields? So I looked for the female equivalent for simp and found female simp, which is ridiculous, isn't it? Or more like redundant. Now, what does the P in simp stands for then? Oh, of course. Do you see the light now? The blinding light. This goes beyond than supporting blindly that fetid industry, but to make us think. In this age, where the simp war rages furiously on the field, because nothing drives you further from being a simp than seeing the ultimate one and then making her a girl, it devoids it from that ridiculous gender war that has been going on from ages since the first Oshinshi and Omanko were discovered. Everyone can simp. You simp, he simps, she simps, they simp. I don't though, and that's the gift that Oshiga Budokan gave me during my reclusion. No mere mortal with flesh and disgusting human organs deserves to be simped upon, but superior virtual beings though, now that's another story. Need to throw some pounds to some beer set though, for those virtual handshaking events on the horizon. Better hurry before the world ends.